Hi guys, I'm just doing a audio and visual check. Are all of you being able to hear me and see me on the screen? Okay. Good evening, guys. A very good evening to all of you. Thank you for being a part of this particular webinar. It was originally supposed to be held yesterday, but most of you would know that there were some technical difficulties yesterday. So today is the day. Uh, Still some people are saying not audible. Akash, Mukul, Yash. Uh, it's audible. Okay. Great. Guys, voice is clear and audible. So, okay, I'll just continue. If someone is not being like, there's a button in Zoom called device, link to device audio. So you can just click on that. It will be, perfectly audible to you. So, continuing, we'll be conducting the session today, the webinar on sports media and journalism. So we have with us, Arunava and Palasta, two of the stalwarts of the Indian sports industry who have made a very big name for themselves in sports media specifically. So introducing Arunava, he has been there in the industry since the past 22 years. He has been working with, he was the founder of arunfoot.com and indianfootball.com as well. He has been a consultant to Bayern Munich football team. And then, we have Pulasta, who has been working in the industry since the past 10 years. He has been a commentator for various leagues like ISL, I League, and presently he's working with Star Sports as well. So thank you guys for coming to the platform and helping the students out here. So over to you. We can start the session now.
Thanks for that introduction. I'm hoping everybody can hear me as well. This is something that I do very often, mic checks, and hopefully this one is also successful. Arunava, if you're also there and can turn on your audio and video, that would be lovely. Everybody wants to see you, I'm sure. Fantastic. All right. So I'm very happy to be here. Always up for helping people who want to join sports media, who want to do something in sports journalism, or, it's a vast world now, because there used to be a point where there were very few things that people could do in sports media. It would be either to join a newspaper, write a few reports, cover one sport, but everything changed once online newsrooms started. So basically, when the digital world opened up to sports media, I think there was a whole lot of things that also opened up. And I'm very happy. Let's see, how many participants do we have? 89 people listening to me and Arunava talking about what you guys should do in life in sports media. Aditya, if you're also listening, that poll with which people can decide in terms of what they're interested in.
Definitely. I'll just launch the poll. It has been launched. Guys, the poll is on. You can reply. You can.
Yeah, this is quite a nice poll. Ideally, I mean, this poll is basically given because, there's quite a few things that people can do now. And we've tried to club them into certain things, which is writing and print, where a lot of people are still very much into writing, into joining a newspaper or an online newsroom. There's of course the broadcast part. If in case you're confused, that is mainly radio, television, and there's digital, where people are now making their vlogs. People are going on Instagram, they're making reels, they're making stories, posts. I don't know if memes also count, but there are pages which make a lot of memes along with their serious news, which also falls into digital. And finally, there's PR, which is the other side of the journalism fence, where it's managing journalists and managing a brand and what the approach is, and writing releases and all of that. So I see a lot of people, more than 50%, want to broadcast. That makes me very happy. I did my MA in broadcast journalism from the University of Sheffield, so I have a soft spot for broadcast, of course. And I see some votes for other sports as well. I see 60% for cricket, 35% for football. Great. There used to be a time when I would tell people that I want to do something in football and they would laugh at me. I can see Aruna was here now as well.
Yes, Pulasto.
Arunava,
Sorry, guys.
did you go through the same as well? Did when you told people you wanted to do something in football, did they turn around and laugh behind your back? Did you catch them doing that?
No, my advantage was that being born and brought up in Germany, wanting to do
Ah,
something in football is the most normal thing in the world.
right,
But the
right.
question was that, at the start, it was all about trying to be a footballer on the field.
Hmm.
Due to injuries and not being good enough, to be very honest. It ended very prematurely in my teenage days.
Right.
But still, I love to play. But again, I've had this transition of being able to work in the industry. And I think that is the main thing, that if you love a sport, if you have a passion for a sport and you're not good enough to be on the field, or if you don't think that you want to become a coach or a technical person,
Hmm.
there are many other areas in the sport where you can be attached to sports, and that is sort of where my passion for writing, my passion for journalism, over the decades is really, since my school days, has led to that I've been able to work in the media space, besides also doing other things in football,
Hmm.
or in sports more general also over the last few years, to expand sort of the remit. And I think that is the most important thing, that you should not be going like this through the world and thinking I want to reach that goal. There are
Right.
many roads which could lead you to where you want to get. And again, Pulosto most probably is a very good example of being a very, very good commentator. But again, the road to being or becoming a commentator was not that straight. I had to dig some detours in writing, and I guess you still like your writing as well.
Yeah, yeah, of course. There's one question that a lot of people ask me. There's one here from Rahul as well on the chat window, which says, how to pursue after BTech. Now, it doesn't have to be BTech. It could be anything. It could be a BSc. It could be a BCom. Arunava, did you do your? I was lucky enough that my mom really backed me. She said that if I wanted to study media and journalism, then I must pursue it. There was my dad was like, okay, yeah, fine, but why don't you do a BA in English? Maybe something of that sort. A slightly more conservative approach, but there is some brevity in going and doing a journal. What did you study? I've never really asked you. What was your bachelor's, master's? What did you do?
So I studied media, which is a more encompassing course here in Germany, which is not just journalism per se, but it's also about production, media production.
Okay.
And I studied as my sort of side subject. I took English because that I thought would be an easy one, which in the end it was.
Hmm.
And the approach in those days was that I originally wanted to go to the sports school in Cologne. Which has one of the best sports journalism courses in Germany. And then there was the journalism school in Dortmund. But we have in Germany what we call numerus clausus to get into those, and Sports University in Cologne has a physical test. Now, I have had problems with my left knee since some 15, 16, so that was out of the question. And the numerus clausus, the marks were so high in Dortmund, and it was, and it ends up that you will start writing, most probably writing for some of the big traditional German newspapers. When I studied,
Correct.
that was the biggest problem. So I'd rather decide, okay, let me broaden it out. There's a media course which in those days started with the bachelor's and with the master's, and which took me originally to radio. I worked over 6 years for the Deutsche Welle. And I always say that I tell this story that I was very fortunate that in 2005 the Confederations Cup happened here in Germany. I, through my indianfootball.com work, actually got an accreditation. So and I was said, okay, go to the launch and do an interview. I said, okay, I'll do an interview. And my first interview happened to be Franz Beckenbauer. So normally you say, okay, done it all, you should retire. It's not going to get bigger than this. And that was something, you know, which for me was good, because at the Deutsche Welle I got a lot of respect from, because, you know, in the sports department, hey, you got Beckenbauer, brilliant. He doesn't speak to everyone, and this and that, everything. So that was my sort of entry into the world, and you know, there was the hard entry into realities, because Franz Beckenbauer is not your typical interview partner, because he's very welcoming, he's very open, he wants to know something about you. So I was very lucky. You know, if I had, you know, the Oliver Kahn in his prime days, I wouldn't have gotten even 3 words out of it. So that is also something that is, you know, you learn. I always say there's this German thing in me which says learning by doing. That you can't be perfect in what you are, but you have to learn while you're doing something. And it's something which I always see is that you never stop learning. I think that's a very, very crucial element in what I've done. And, you know, I would never say to someone that I'm perfect in everything. It's one thing, for example, with my social media posts, I know that I could be much, much better. But again, I've got certain limitations. I do it on my own. And therefore, my social media looks like it is, especially my Instagram is a jumbled up thing of what I do. You know, I don't focus just on the football part, or on the private me, or, you know, what I do locally here for television and all that stuff. So it's everything sort of put together. And that's always, you know, when people ask you about strategy, and I say, my social media is not my strategy. Social media for me, to some extent, especially Instagram or Facebook or something, is to show my life. And that is, I think, you should stick to being who you are. I think that is very, very important. You should not try to bend over to become someone that you think someone will like, because then in the long term you lose yourself. That's what my feeling has always been, and I've run with that very, very importantly. That I've been able to do what I want to do. And I said that yesterday. Sadly, a lot of people didn't hear it. I said that I'm most probably one of the few all-rounders in the world of football, where give me an area and I've most probably done it, be it from an administration, from a management standpoint, from being stuff on the field, coaching stuff, on the media, on the PR, on the marketing, on the sponsorship sales. You know, I've had to do everything at some stage in my career, and I think that helps you also then to understand a lot of other areas. And that's something very, very important, is that when you, especially in our field, which we're talking about, media, digital, and PR, the lines are very, very thin. But again, it depends on which side of the divide you stand, and then you have to take a call on how you're gonna do it or not. And that is also, I think, a very, very important part.
So a lot of questions, of course, and we kind of expected this in terms of how do I get into sports journalism? How do I get into an internship? How do I do a course? I don't know if there's a definite answer, because even if you've done your BTech or your BSc, for that matter, I think your master's matters the most, or a post grad, whatever post grad. It could be a diploma, it could be an internship, it could be. I'm not saying you have to have a master's. That's not quite true. But if I think the catch for me is that you have to make sure that you use each and every tiny vacation, every tiny 3 to 4 week window that you get during your academic year. I know this is an answer that doesn't quite fit well, because we are in the middle of a pandemic. So people are not giving out internships, and people are not giving out jobs, for that matter. If nobody has money, this is something very real. And I think me and Arunava are going to tell you that this is the reality of the industry right now. And when you ask, where should I study? I think what matters is not where you study or which course you do. I think it also matters where you work. Even if you've got a BCom or a BTech or something like that, and then you do a couple of courses, they could be short courses. I think it's about chasing a break, getting an internship, getting a break at a radio station, getting a break at a I don't know, it could be a place which publishes blogs, like maybe a sports Skida for that matter. I know the pay is not great, but getting published, tweeting your opinion, putting up stuff on Instagram, you can create your own page, your own channel, your own blog. And this is something that hasn't died in the last 10-15 years. This has always been. Arunava did it with indianfootball.com, where you started putting up your own stuff, and you started getting noticed. I think it's a wrong way of saying, hey, I'm going to study in this institute and then I'm going to get a job as a sports journalist or into sports management. I think that rarely happens. But for those of you who are asking this question, I have a lot of friends who studied at Asian College of Journalism in Chennai, and I do know that they offer postgraduate diplomas and you can specialize in either broadcast, in either print, or you could go into I think they also have PR, and then they have some placements as well. So the only place, and IIMC does some placements as well. I don't know whether, I remember when I was at Scoop Whoop, we went to IIMC and picked up a few young students and got them into the news team. But I am not sure which other institutes apart from IIMC and ACJ give out placements to journalists. It's a very, very rare thing, especially in India, to get placed into a media company. And I think rather than chasing a placement, you should be chasing opportunity. That is what I believe. That is what I did. Like in first year college, I went to where my dad was working abroad in Africa, and I did a 2-week placement at a newspaper called The Post, which is in Zambia. And I covered a few games for them. And that is how your CV builds. Can you share how Star Sports hires? This is the question that I get most often on LinkedIn as well. They don't hire. They do hire, but there is no job opening for a producer. There will never be a job opening for a commentator. There will never be a job opening for an anchor. It doesn't happen. You have to find people who have contacts. You have to make your tape. You have to sit in front of a green screen, submit this. You have to pursue it. And that is what I believe. If this was an MBA, we would not be having this discussion. We would have been talking about what package should I choose or what company should I choose between Google and Amazon. But media is a completely different ballgame.
I totally agree. I think the first misconception that I think we need to take away is that once you have a degree, once you have studied your master's, or you've gone even further on, that the industry will look at your CV and say, hey, listen, I'm going to bring in this person. So from my own experiences, is if I look back at how we did stuff at Mumbai City, or bringing on people, for me, it's more important of what practical experience that person has.
Yes, rather than the degree. Because again, sports is a field where you have to get your hands dirty, so to say. You have to have those, long hours, and the willingness also to go out of your way to get things done. Yeah.
So your problem is that as important as degrees are to have on paper, but to me always, if I'm looking for someone, the practical experience, the practical knowledge is much more important. So I go back to an example of my indianfootball.com days on how we sort of build a team, because we were doing it out of passion. There was no pay involved. It was a pure passion thing. And it's if I look at people who are now working within the Indian football ecosystem, there is someone who's the head of football at a football club. At the same club, someone was the CEO, 2 ex-guys from our system, couple of guys who are now working as journalists with 2 national newspapers. We gave them the first break. And that is the very important thing, is that practical experience. Also maybe to look at internships where you might not get anything, but it makes sense because you're going to learn something practical and it will be good for your CV. So I think those combinations are very, very crucial in where you want to take your career. Because again, I, for example, have had a career which is very unorthodox in any part of the world in regard to my career, because I've always said to myself, 2 or 3 instances I've worked full time for someone. Otherwise, I've always preferred to have my freedom, to prefer to be able to pick up projects and do projects, and also have my own opinion. And I have my own opinion. I have my social media. I say what I think, but I also am clear, also, which I think Pulastya will also agree to. You have to know what you say, what you don't say. Now, if you create a YouTube channel, if you create a podcast, and you keep abusing people, or not abusing people, but if you are critical, just for the sake of being critical of people, people will know that you're critical about them, and then afterwards they will not be willing to take you on board. Because people, it is very, very easy. Once you've put out something in today's world and said, hey, this club or this federation is useless, their management is blah, blah, whatever, it doesn't work. I take an example yesterday of the failed seminar that we had. And that is about etiquette, which very often in the Indian media is lost. And I hope, that one day comes back. Because I've worked in the past for certain channels and for certain people who are in the midst of storms at the moment. But yesterday, when the seminar was not working for technical issues, which were background issues, which even the Mad About Sports couldn't do about something, people started abusing. Why is that? Right? So I think etiquette is very important. Also, when you're producing something, criticism, valid criticism is fine. But very often I find that, when you're doing your own platforms, people just criticize for the sake of criticizing. Is why this club, why that club is doing this, or why is this franchise, blah, blah, whatever. If you're going into the tactics, if you're going into the sport, that is fine. But if you're, very, very important is not to do personal attacks. So the question is, again, Rahul is asking question, making content Hindi good or not? I think making content in Hindi nowadays,
fantastic.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, do it.
10 years ago, I would have said clearly no, but you've seen that regional languages, the growth of regional languages, it was unthinkable that even Star Sports would have had its ISL coverage or IPL coverage or even the Premier League coverage in different languages. Now it's happening in Hindi, it's happening in Malayalam, it's happening in Bengali, in other things you've got Kannada and Tamil and other languages as well. So languages is something very important.
Couple of people asking, how do you learn cricket anchoring? And I think number one, you have to, and this is going to be very frank, you have to have it in you. There are certain things you just have to have. Like, for example, it started with a vote of thanks for me in Standard 6th, where I stood on a platform, and because I couldn't be seen behind that. What is that called? I don't know, the thing behind which people stand and talk. Is it a podium? Podium, right? Or a lectern? Something, the thing. I mean, you just stand behind it and there's a logo.
Yeah, it's a podium.
Podium.
Yeah, podium,
right.
Yeah.
So it started with a podium and giving a vote of thanks. From there, I realized that, hey, I enjoy this. I enjoy talking on the mic. I have no fear. There could be 10,000 people sitting here. There could be 5 people sitting here. I would sound exactly the same. And from there on, it went into poetry recital, elocution, debates, drama class, all of that. And I realized that I have it in me. And I think there are certain things you just have. Like, for example, if I was made to do Arunava's job, I'm very okay saying, hey, I can't do this. I need help. Okay. But there are certain things in life which you just have. There are certain talents which you just have. Now, with journalism, anchoring and all of that, we have this, we have a saying, oh, this guy chased his passion. And I know it's a kind of a very common saying, but it is actually true. To turn your passion into a job is probably 10 times more difficult than it is to, study something and do a corporate job. I mean, I know that is also a very tough life, but this one here, you have to persevere according to 1 or 2 or 3 skills that you have. So if you're saying, hey, where's a good place to learn anchoring? But if in the first place you have stage fright, then I think it's going to be very hard to be an anchor.
Impossible.
It's impossible.
See, the thing nowadays is with the opportunities of having platforms on social media, you can try out things. Simple thing. I mean,
Exactly.
if Pulostan and I weren't able to talk in front of a camera, we couldn't be doing this what we're doing now, because we can speak freely. And we are not the kinds of, listen, we will create a PowerPoint presentation and we'll run it through. No. We go through it. We are clear in our head what we want to say. For example, I know that Pulosto takes certain notes into going into a commentary. I also take my notes, or rather, I have my asterisks or my crosses on certain players, and then I've got certain infos on certain players, because that is also a skill. So why not? You should try out things. Try out things. Just standing in front of your mobile phone, recording something, and seeing if you can do that.
Yeah.
If you're a natural, and it's not a question of what you're saying or what you're not saying, but the thing is, are you able to simply talk in front of a camera? For example, a person who I just love for the way he does it is Pulosto's colleague Anant Tyagi.
Yeah.
Anand is I rather see, he can do both anchoring and commentary. I rather prefer him as an anchor. But again, that's my personal choice. But that is someone who's not a natural.
And he was a producer. He came it the hard way. He was a producer first. So see, there are people saying, hey, Star Sports doesn't do interviews. How do we get hired? No, they do interviews. That's not the thing. The thing is, they will give you a chance. The point is, there is never an interview for an anchor. There is a demo. You send a demo tape. You have to know somebody. Even with Anant, he got hired as a producer. He was producing shows first, small shows. And then one fine day, he says, oh, you know what? He works hard as a producer, and he tells somebody, can I give a shot at anchoring? Can I give a demo? He gives a demo works out, he gets a show, off he goes. Right?
Boom.
So where have you seen in any channel in the world that there's a job opening for an anchor? It kind of, it's not disappointing me, but it's a lack of awareness, which is not mainly the fault of people asking this question. But here we are trying to make you aware that there will never be an interview for a radio jockey, for example. Even if there is, it won't be out there advertised. This is not a tender. It'll not be on the website. It'll not be on their social media. You have to get your foot in the door via an interview. I wanted to be a football commentator the minute I came back from the UK. It was impossible. I thought I could do it. I found out over here, it's impossible to do. It took me 6 years to get my first game. And for 6 years, I was at First Post in Bombay. I was in Delhi with Scoop Whoop. And I was covering cricket, hockey, everything, things I didn't want to do. But the fact is, once I was into journalism, I knew people. And I said, hey, can I send a demo tape here? Do you know somebody who can listen to a demo tape? That is how it happens. You may join Star as an accountant. You may join as a producer. Those are the jobs that get advertised. Those are the jobs, openings that come out. But I'm very sorry, there's not going to be no channel is going to give you, call you for an interview and say, hey, we need an anchor. It's not going to happen. So let's just not talk about anchor interviews and all of that. However, I like the skills part. That is, we are going to teach you writing skills, broadcast skills. We're going to teach you digital skills. I think Arunava touched up wonderfully on social media etiquette skills. The other etiquette is how to ask for a job skill.
And someone is just asking the question is, should I post on my YouTube and Instagram sort of on my personal? No. Very important. Your personal Instagram account or your personal social media should not be where you're posting your videos or your photos or your memes, whatever you're doing. Do not do it on a personal account, because
create a channel rather.
That's why also I always say everyone have an account on LinkedIn. I mean, I just was approached by SAP to do a mentoring thing, because SAP found me via LinkedIn and liked my profile and liked what I do. So the thing is very important. Also always have your CVs ready. Again, LinkedIn is a profile or link your LinkedIn profile into your CV nowadays. Very often also is that in Europe you do it that you don't even send your CV, you just do a cover email and then post the LinkedIn. I mean, this is already next generation. But that is very, very important in what you do is show yourself as being professional, of being ready for what you want to do. Again, but as Pulostar said, you might have to take a detour. If you think that you're going to get a gig as a commentator because you do some stuff on YouTube, no one's going to give you that chance.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen in that first instance. So maybe the route via a producer. So important is also learn the skills of how to make. So this is one thing which I find for myself very, very important, which I learned in my studies is I know how to produce radio, I know how to produce television, and I know how to write. So theoretically, if I want to be a video journalist, if I wanted to, I could do it. So that is something which I find very, very important. Learn as many skills as possible. Do not, say, I just want to be this or I want to be that. If you want to do an anchor, I don't even want to go down that route, how Star Sports picks some of the anchors or some of these presenters, because there are they rather look through Miss India or Miss Femina or whatever they have, rather than, doing actually castings. So the thing is, you might have to take a backdoor entry into it. Anand Tyagi, very good example, but also others as well. Or you have to be by chance at the right time at the right place. I remember when Z Sports entered Indian football, Mayanti Langer popped out as someone who was interested in football, who knew football, and that is how she got the job. Mayanti never was interested, so to say, in it at the start. But again, very often it is by chance. So to say that to plan and to strategize, I'm going to do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and through that I can get into broadcast journalism, or even into writing, even into that is going to be difficult. I think the easy part is the digital one, because anyone and everyone can be their own sort of broadcast. I think that is an opportunity that you have today, and you have to ensure that you make quality. If you're saying that I want to make memes and all that kind of stuff, that is very nice, but if I would rather push that again to another channel, because if you're making memes and stuff, that is not going to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
So
there's a nice one from Mayuresh that I'm reading, where he says that I'm a freelance host and I've got my own YouTube channel where I upload cricket videos, which is called Cricket Tales with Mayuresh. So, and I have a portfolio and how to proceed with this. Of course, this is how you go about it. And it's slightly difficult because there's a lot of competition out there. This has become glamorous, anchoring sport or commentating on a sport or working with a team. The other backdoor entry could be you work with a team as a media manager or something. The point is, I think in media, contacts are very important, and how you use those contacts, how you milk those contacts, how you behave with those contacts, and you show them. I have a lot of people who send me a lot of, I will always tell people, send me demo tapes of your commentary. I will forward them to the right people. The point is, then do you take the effort of making a good demo? Do you, if you're watching the I-League, there's a guy called Prem who's been doing commentary. I remember he was after me for 4 or 5 years. Listen to my YouTube. Here's a demo tape. Here's this. Here's that. And I told him, your voice sounds very young. So maybe in a couple of years, that, you work on this, work on that. He eventually made a demo tape. And I said, okay, you know what? Now, finally, after all these years, you've made a demo tape, which I think I'm going to forward to somebody. I forwarded it to the I-League producers, and last season he got a break and he's got the gig again this year. That is how it happens. You have to chase it down. You have to persevere. You have to be relentless. I think that is the word I'm looking for. You have to be absolutely relentless in kind of, chasing this. Somebody asked, what's a good way to increase vocabulary read? I think the reading is the greatest way. So that's a quick one. I'm just trying to get through as many questions as possible while we talk, so that we don't have to do a separate Q&A where we do, all these questions. Anything else, Arunava, that has caught your eye from the questions, or
Again, there's the question about language. I think I read
Sorry.
somewhere someone just questioned about doing something in Tamil. So as we said, I think regional languages are growing. I think the key languages, it doesn't matter if it's sports or other things, but if I'm Hindi for sure, Bengali, Malayalam, just because of the craziness of sports in those regions, Tamil certainly. I think Marathi will also soon catch up as well. So if you're doing those kind of things, I think it makes sense. Again, the question is, try and practice. Be careful also what you put out on, especially YouTube, because if you're using footage from, let's say, a star, copyrights and other things. So this is also something very important, is that create your own content. Don't do copy paste. Don't do try and be yourself. Try to articulate yourself if you're writing. If you're again, as Pulosto said, vocabulary is a very key thing. I think Pulosto's strength is the vocabulary, right? So that is one of the things why people like to listen to his commentary, is because of the vocabulary and the energy that he brings. Again, that's the thing also, interlinking it again to Anand. Anand, why are people so fond of Anand is because of the energy and the power he brings, because especially when India score goals, right? So that is something that, your voice should have something which is sort of unique, I would say, right? It should not be sound like anybody else. So therefore, right. I say it's very, very important is that you need to be doing things to develop these skills, and don't try to copy. If you want to do commentary, don't try to copy Pulosto, because you cannot be Pulosto. You will be you.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, a very, very clear element. Again, this regarding content writing is relatively, I find it in today's world easy. Again, if content writing, I would suggest, don't look for the money at the start, rather look at platforms where you can upload your stuff and where you can spread your writing,
which is kind of unfortunate, but you'll have to go through that cycle.
So that's a reality. Yeah. And again, the reality of the pandemic is also that especially the publishing houses or these online media platforms or the others, all of them have financial problems. So it's rather, if you, Pulosto mentioned a platform like Sportskeeda. If you can get an article published on Sportskeeda, brilliant.
Again, and a few people have actually, I'm very happy. Some people have been writing for Sportskeeda. I can see some more pointed questions now. Thankfully, the bit of gyan that we gave you has kind of streamlined that thought process, and I'm very happy that is kind of working. But these are the things you'll have to do. And there's something, timing in career it's very luck based also. I think when I started covering 2011, when I started getting, got my first job, there was no ISL. I was kind of, subdued in my coverage of Indian football, but I still stuck at it. And then I had a 2-year work permit in the UK, and I was like, oh my God, I want to go back. There is no football here. But then once it started, and there was this tiny crest of a wave, and then you've just got to get on it and ride that wave. And then when somebody asks me, hey, you don't want to go to Canada, Australia, UK? I said, no, I don't want to go. Because right now, Indian sport and Indian football specifically is on this incredible trajectory of going up. And why would I leave everything behind and go? So I know that timing is also kind of important. But if you want to be a football commentator, does that mean you can't join a team in the Kabaddi League and do some media work for them? No, you can do that. Can't you probably try and work with, handball is coming up. There's the badminton league is there. The wrestling leagues are there. The Olympics are going to happen. The Asian Games are quite big. Can you get attached to a team? Can you go and ask Sai for a job? These are things, just get your foot in the door. And from then on, other doors will open. There will never be, there is no direct route. And I think me and Arunava have said this a lot of times. There's no direct route. People have asked if they can send me commentary links. Please send them to me on LinkedIn. I really don't mind. If they're nice, I'll forward them. I mean, me and Arunava will help that way. But it's more about trying to build in you people a mindset of chasing what you want to do. Keep a specific job as your goal, but know that there's a 1,000 things you'll have to do before you actually get an opportunity to do that. And by the time you get that opportunity, you have to be ready. It's like playing a sport. It's like a player getting dropped and said, okay, you know what, today you play. And my break on TV came because the commentator who was there at that time lost somebody very close to him in the UK. He had to fly to the UK. Suddenly there was no lead commentator in Delhi available for 10 sports. And my emails, 10 of my emails were waiting in RK's mailbox. And RK used to be 10 sports football producer, production head. And he said, hey, can you do this game for us? And that's it. So I know it was an unfortunate event in somebody's life that led to a fortunate one in mine. But sometimes these are the things that you've got to. If I didn't do that game well, gone, chance gone. You get one chance on air. One mistake, that's it. One bad word, done. You miss something, finished. So yeah, RK is Radhakrishnan. So, these are the things you've got to wait for that chance. And while you wait, it could be 6 years, 8 years, 10 years. You have to be so good that when the chance comes, you take it. That would be my biggest piece of advice. And this is something that, I don't know, we probably tell players as well. When the chance comes, you got to take it. Ishan Pandita last night. Chance came, scored. And your fortunes can change.
Exactly, and that's the challenging part, not only on and off the field, but the interesting part is what Pulosto said is, listen, if we find something good, we will forward it, but at the end of the day, it's not our decision.
Yeah, no promises, of course.
Yeah,
I mean, I am a competitor as well.
Yeah. So we can potentially forward it, but again, if we and we have to be honest enough to you guys and say, listen, if this is not good enough, we're not going to forward it, because those are contacts of friends of ours. Very often, not even contacts; those most probably are friends of ours. So we're not going to pass on something for the sake of passing on something. So I think it's very, very crucial that, again, what I said earlier is that, that straight road, if it doesn't exist, you have to take detours to get to where you are. And if I see, journalism is something which is great, but one has to be also honest that with digital coming in and digital getting a massive push because of the pandemic, traditional broadcasting in the sense of writing it for a newspaper might not be there as an option. Because
in a few years,
in a few years, or maybe even now, because a lot of newspapers have been thinking about to reduce their sports desks, because not that much of sport is happening. So that is something you need to be also clear of what you want to read. That's why I'm saying that working with the club, with the franchise, or maybe even doing franchise hopping. There's a lot of production people who work in the IPL, who work in Kabaddi, who work in ISL, and literally hop from one competition, one tournament to the other. So that is also something that, even if you say, listen, I want to do football, or if I want to do cricket, but you might have to do something else. I remember I saw the practice match before Kabaddi was launched in 2014 in Mumbai. And I remember I was watching it with certain owners and all that stuff. And our producer, God, I forgot the surname. You remember the producer, Dave, the English guy?
No, not really.
He used to be with Z, and then he was doing ISL in season 1.
Oh, okay, no.
Forgot his, and he had to do Kabaddi. Dave then said, I don't have a clue. I was asked to come a few weeks earlier, do this Kabaddi thing, and then move on to the ISL.
Right.
And this is coming from a senior producer from the UK who's come down, who before that used to do Champions League, World Cups, European Championships, whatever. So that is also, you need to be very clear that if you get an opportunity, a small break, even if it's a small break, take that opportunity. I think that is very, very, very important.
This, I'm sorry, Arunava, but this great example here as well from Tushar. I think there's a long message, if you can read it along with me. Tushar says he's a licensed football coach and he knows 3 languages. He's been on stage all his life. He did his master's in English and now he's doing a master's in journalism and mass communication. Wow. See, now this is a lot of stuff happening here. And I think at the end of this, Tushar is going to come out a very well-rounded person with a lot of degrees. And now he's wanting more experience out there. So, but there's already a CV before There's something, even a message on Zoom group chat kind of stands out, that, oh, hey, you know what? This looks like a profile which could probably write something nice, which we could, he could send it somewhere and get it published. The only thing once you have all of that, is how you use it. So this is how you have to go about it. There is no clear-cut route, which is why a lot of people don't take it. It's as simple. Why don't a lot of people become journalists? Why don't a lot of people want to become anchors? There's no direct route. It is a very talent-based, it is a very skill-based, in sport, it's a very knowledge-based thing as well.
So I got an interesting one from Yash. He sent me a direct message. He's saying he's 16-year-old, currently working as an intern for a website, written 100 plus articles. What should be my next steps? So first of all, finish your school. That would be my first piece of advice. Good that you're writing. So, for you, it makes most probably sense to try and get a bachelor's in journalism. If you can get into something like that, if you've got that skill, if you like it, would you, again, the question is, do you restrict yourself to sports? No, I wouldn't. I would do general journalism, because that opens you up a lot of areas, a lot of fields. And that makes it interesting. And coming back to Tushar, of course, is asking if you should, in the end, go for internships and more such experience out there. Yes, Tushar, any experience that you can get, take it, utilize it. I think, any experience is good. Again, do not restrict yourself to saying, I want to go here, I want to go there. You are also someone who seems to have done a few things in the footballing space. So I think that is a very, very crucial element of where you want to go and what you want to do.
Siddharth's question, is there a specific degree to go further in commentary? No. What you're doing is fantastic. Stick to doing that. I've been doing cricket commentary, presenting local cricket, fantastic. See, here's the thing with cricket, and I'm going to be very, very frank about it. To do television cricket commentary, the only non-cricketer to break into that sphere over the last 20 years is Harsha Bhogle. In cricket, it's a sport which is it's a sport played by fewer countries, and the players, usually cricketers are well read. I mean, they know how to talk about the sport. It's a very technical sport. And I think the pull with cricket broadcast is, if you've got ex-players, then people tend to watch. It's great watching, let's say, a Rahul Dravid do commentary, this, that. As unfortunate as it may be that it's that club of international cricket commentators is kind of cozy and not very open to people, I think it's not the end of the world, because there's always local cricket. There's always a lot of other tournaments that may not be international. There's also All India Radio. And All India Radio, if you're in Mumbai or if you're in Delhi, if you're in any of the major cities, they have a streamlined method of choosing radio jockeys, and they will pay you on a per show basis. But you have to go through a workshop of 7 days, which I did. Go to your All India Radio local station, approach the station head, ask them, is there a situation where you need somebody to present something tiny, this, that? If he says yes, probably ask, hey, okay, is there any cricket happening that, AIR has rights to? And try to get a foot in the door there. If they say, no, you just come and do the 10 o'clock news, do the 10 o'clock news for the first 5-6 months. And then say, hey, I've been doing the 10 o'clock news for the last 6 weeks, 6 months. Can I do a show now? Do a show then for 2-3 years. You have to spend time. It won't happen like that. The names being taken, Jatin Sapru, he won one of those shows, I think, Search for the Next Harsha Bhogle or something, and he's fantastic.
Yeah, he was one, and then Anand Narsimhan was with another one who won that.
Yes, so
and then
they capitalized.
Mayanti Langar is not, again, Mayanti Langar's route is very interesting. She did it, she entered via football, and she was regarded as that good that Z and then also Star said, hey, listen, do cricket for us. Same thing with Arjun. I was there at Barasat when Arjun did his first ever commentary for Z Sports on football.
Yeah.
Again, with Gaurav, all these guys, Suhail Chandok being mentioned there as well. Suhail, family-wise, has a motorsports background, but Suhail's first breaks were on ISL and Kabaddi. He did ISL and Pro Kabaddi before he moved on. And I remember that was quite funny because I once did the Pro Kabaddi in German for the German channel in Sky, and Suhail was doing it for Star. In I was picking up a lot of infos from him, because this is quite funny. In German, we had to create words for Kabaddi because they didn't exist. So the thing is also is, all these people you're mentioning, Bhavna, for example, you're talking about Lisa Mangaldas, Sanjana Ganesan. All of them have some sort of background or some sort of connect, so that is also what you have to remember, that Lisa's mom is Ritu Nanda, one of the big interior designers of Mumbai. So again, contacts are a very, very key one. I've seen the question of, hey, how do I get contacts? Do I write and approach people? I don't want to sound rude, but even I get, I don't know, X number of messages every day that people want help. If I just answer those messages every day,
working with people is the best way to make contacts.
Yeah, and if I just answer those messages, I wouldn't be focusing on my work. So that is something that you need to understand, is just hitting out and just sending messages and saying, hey, I want to have a break, I've got this talent. There are thousands, if not lakhs of young people who are willing to do the same thing. So you need to stand out of the crowd. You need to have something on your CV or ideally in your portfolio, which makes you distinguish and makes you stand out. Because today it is much more difficult than, let's say, even what Kuldosto was facing 5, 7, 10 years ago, or what I saw when I started off in 1998 with IndianFootball.com. I mean, those days there was no Facebook, there was no social media, there was no Google, all of that did not exist. So you have to see how you can stand out, which platform works for you. Is it YouTube which works for you? Is it more of an Instagram which works for you? Or is it Facebook? You need to understand what is the platform that you want to utilize and showcase yourself if you want to do anchoring or if you want to be a commentator. I think commentator, as Pulosto said, very, very difficult and nearly close to impossible to get in, very rarely. And then, that is one. And as an anchor, you have to either, a lot of producers have become anchors, or even people working in the sports industry. A lot of people have entered the sports industry field, even in a management perspective of being old producers. I take the example of Joy Bhattacharya, for example, right? Of course, he's the old quiz master and all that kind of stuff, but he used to be someone who was a producer at ESPN Star Sports.
Exactly. There's one nice one for you, Aruna. What is the procedure to become a media manager of any club in the ISL?
That's a good question. Media manager will have.
It falls in PR, by the way, Sayantan, if you're kind of wondering.
It's very much of PR. I think the media managers' roles are now experienced people who've got some sort of background in journalism nowadays. I think that is something that is very, very, or you have worked for a PR agency. Normally you would nowadays be looking to be their social media manager or their sort of a print manager. They've got some of them have got 5, 6 people running around in Goa at the moment during the ISL. So the thing to say, I want to become a media manager of an ISL team sounds nice, but again, you're not going to become it. So the same thing is, there is a route to work yourself up. Also, again, at the moment, a bad example, but a good example normally would be, during normal times, would be conferences, seminars, which happen, India Football Forum, whatever, all those things that happen.
And Mad About Sports is doing some work in terms of, go attend a seminar, I don't know, work on your skills. That's also
exactly.
It's difficult. We would have loved to be in front of you in a giant classroom, but these are the times we live in. But at the same,
we would have loved to have you in a giant classroom, but due to the present.
So those are realities. Tina's asking, I'm currently pursuing BAMM.
Is there a bachelor's in mass media? Because that's what I did in India itself. I don't know if it's BAMM, I think mass media, that's what.
Mass media, right? Yeah. And have decided to do sports journalism after my graduation as I'm a cricket player. What's your opinion? Yes, I mean, define for us what is for you sports journalism, right? Because sports journalism is this huge field what we're sort of talking about today. Again, classical, we would say writing, to some extent classic. Modern would be broadcast. Modern is totally modern is digital, and of course also PR. Now
I
one
would
field
still say not to do sports journalism to her. Was that Tina? Yeah. I would still say don't do sports journalism. I would say do journalism, either traditional journalism or either broadcast. Sports journalism kind of makes, I had that option when I was going to the UK. There were two courses. One is the MA in sports broadcasting and one was MA broadcast journalism. And I didn't do sports because I was like, I'd rather learn about everything about broadcast, because let's say, well, what happens if I want to become a political writer? I mean, one fine morning, I may find myself very disenchanted with sport and say that, hey, I want to become a presenter of hard news. If you then go to a channel with a sports journalism degree, just go with a big journalism degree. I know you're doing your mass media, and then why don't you do a MA in journalism, or you do an MA in broadcast or something like that, or an MA or a master's in sports management. A few questions for you, Arunava, here. A lot of sports management stuff.
Yeah, I know, but again, sports management.
Before I give it back to you.
Yeah, sure.
Does even personality matter in anchoring and broadcasting? Yeah, it matters in a big way. If you're not if you don't have the personality, if you're not outgoing, if you don't like talking to people, if you're reserved, see, you can be reserved in your own life. That's fine. But I think we live a dual life. Everybody lives a dual life. But when you come out in front of a camera, or when you have the mic in your hand and you don't know how many people are listening or watching, you have to switch on. And that's when your personality clicks, and you have to have that. I think you have to have that bit of a zing, bit of an X factor, which doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like an Anand or like somebody or like Gaurav Kapoor. No, you have to have your own thing, which could be a little bit of all of these people, but there has to be some kind of originality. Over to you, Arunava, on the sports management front.
Sports management is something which I actually wanted to say I didn't want to touch today, because we want to stick to broadcast and media, and there's been some questions in regard to opportunities abroad. And again,
how to get in contact with clubs.
Clubs or whatever. Again, someone wants to cover a World Cup, great. If you want to cover a football World Cup, your newspaper most probably is your only route to do that, because television nowadays are mostly going via global broadcast feeds. But again, if you're looking at options abroad, I have to sadly again mention the pandemic, and also that holding an Indian passport doesn't help. Don't look abroad.
Don't look abroad now. At least not now.
At least the next 18 to 24 months, don't even look abroad. An exception might be sort of Qatar with the World Cup coming up, but again, that might be something to look at. But otherwise, I don't see, the problem is with options abroad is, again, everywhere the media world is in a transitional phase. Again, some people asked if learning a language makes sense. Languages always make sense, yes, but again, if you're not a native speaker, no one is going to give you a chance. So you have to be very, very clear about that. If you're not a native speaker,
go through some voice training, do a workshop.
But again, if you're thinking of coming to Germany or to a France or to a Spain, forget that.
Yes,
Even England, a native Indian English speaker will not be someone that they will accept. So be clear. And in the UK, you will not get a work permit. So that's also something that's very clear.
Yeah. So true.
So those are realities. So don't follow false dreams. Try to fulfill your dreams rather like that. And then Shayan, you're asking if you want to be an expert on World Cup or Champions League. Great. But again, if you're not an ex-footballer, you will not be accepted as an expert. That is sort of
which is unfortunate, but it's there.
Which is a reality which even I face. So so from that perspective, do not follow false dreams. Follow dreams that are realistic. Again, look at the options that there's. Someone asked about CricBuzz or ESPN. If you can get into those platforms, yes, certainly. ESPN is a brilliant platform if you look who's all writing. Devan Sen is there. I think Sharda Ugra is there.
High standards, though, very high standards. You'll have to work hard.
I don't know how realistic that is, but again, if you can get in or even get there in internship, yes, do it. So those are,
Yeah, there's one very nice one, and I think I've been asked this many times on Reddit. Is data science along with some media experience enough to get a job in some of the football clubs? I'm going to ignore the abroad bit because we have football clubs here. The ISL is doing great work. Indian football is on a rise. Data science and writing skills, fantastic marriage between the two. I think because what it does is if you've mastered language and data, then, and if you have the skill set to bring them together and start writing stuff, I think it's great. A lot of people out there, and there is a great way of entering this market as well. If you're good with your data and you can make representations which are visually friendly for the Indian football fan, they have to educate, they have to enlighten, and they have to also look nice. And then you can start tweeting. I know a lot of people who have tweeted their research on data and created match reports on Twitter to such an extent and got a following there that they eventually found jobs with clubs and teams. There is one example you can follow on Twitter. It's @Sergeant Salt and Pepper. So he would do just stuff on his own. And I was at Tilak Maidan last season at the I League doing a game, and he walks up to me and says, "Hey, I'm Sergeant Salt and Pepper from Twitter." And I said, what are you doing here? And he said, "I'm working with a club now." And that is actually how sports media works. That I was doing this, and then somebody noticed me. I took the chance. So, that kind of critical thinking, hey, I have data science, I have some writing skills, what can I make of it? This is the kind of thinking that will take you places. Because Arunava told me, how did I get into commentary? I told him very clearly, I was terrible at math, science, everything. I knew two things. I knew how to talk on the mic, I knew football. Bring them together. And it sounded ridiculous at that time, but that is how I kind of worked towards it. You have to know your skill set. I think that understanding, that realization, oh, this is what I'm good at, is probably step one to making a career.
Agree. I think that's a very key one. A good question here also is if we think you need contacts more than talent and hard work. I think it's a combination of both. I think without contacts is going to be difficult.
But talent and hard work will bring you contacts.
Exactly. And if you're good, there are a lot of people who are recruiting because they see something. I mean, at least when I was hiring people, I always like to see something special. And that is something, again, there's an example, Yash is saying he admires Marcus Margolao a lot and he would like to become like Marcus. I think Marcus himself doesn't know how he got there. It just somehow happened, I guess. Marcus has been there for ages with the TOI in Goa, and that he's sort of become
moved to Goa.
Yeah,
you have to relocate. I don't know. That's something we haven't touched upon. If you like a sport, move to a place where people live and breathe that sport, where that sport is a culture. If you say, "Oh, I cannot cover football at all. I am stuck in Punjab." I mean, of course, Punjab has football. I'm stuck in Delhi or something.
Again, I wanted to say that Punjab is a bad example. But if you're stuck somewhere, I don't know, in Uttar Pradesh or somewhere.
Uttar Pradesh.
Move there. But again, you have to see where you move it, because if you're saying you're in North India, you want to go to Northeast India and do football. Hey, if you don't know the local language, it's going to be very difficult. If you're going to Mizoram or to Manipur or to Meghalaya, you need to know the local languages. And a very, very important one, again, to come back to Marcus. Marcus has been with the Times of India, I don't know,
30 years maybe.
Yeah, he's not that old, is he? But again, I would have said 20 plus.
Marcus is going to take my case for this.
Yeah, I'll take the clip of this and send it to him. And jokes apart, but again, it has happened. But again, Marcus has certain restrictions that the Times of India puts on him. So you need to be also clear.
Somebody says take Gujarat, guys. I am from Gujarat, by the way. I'm from Baroda. I've been born and brought up there most of my life, apart from first few years in Lusaka. But I am from Baroda, and it makes me very proud that from a place where virtually there's no sport, but I had to move. If I would have, as my father had said, hey, why don't you do BA over here at the university here? It was a great idea. I know where he came from. Boy will be at home, all of that. I was adamant, I have to go to Bombay. I still do not like Bombay. It is the last city where I would go to live in India, because there's no space and I'm a small city person. But when you say, oh, do you have to move? I think me and Arunava speak from context and experience that you have. Geographical location will matter. Your parents are not letting you go to Bombay, rebel. Go or work in Gujarat for 5 years, save up money in that saving account, and then go to Bombay. These are the things that me and Arunava will actually notice about you people. If 5 years later, one of these names turns up somewhere, oh, that guy asked a question 5 years ago. This is what he did. And this is what sets you apart. This story, where you come from, what you do to chase that dream. And of course, as Arunava said, keep it slightly realistic. I love listening to, oh, hey, I want to cover a World Cup. I've said it in the past as well. I didn't say it 5 years ago, though. I said it last year in an interview, that it would be amazing to cover a World Cup game with India in it, because I think it's realistic in 40 years' time. So, that kind of thinking, geographical location, course, internships, hard work, contacts, bring all of that together. One day, you'll have a break.
And that is very, very important. And I think to add to that, 2 examples. I mean, I was lucky that I had the 2006 World Cup literally in front of my door. But again, for me, another highlight was the Asian Cup in 2011, which I went for the Deutsche Welle, where I was lucky to see. I was not sent for India. I was sent for the whole tournament, but I was lucky to see India play, and I was there, in those games. So the thing is, for you is, and I reiterate that point. I see Aditya's already there as well. I think we've already crossed the 1 hour mark. That it's very, very important that you are, you separate yourself from the rest. Whatever you do, you have to be unique. You have to be special, and that is a key element. If you're saying I'm going to do something for the sake of doing it, no, be good. Someone also asked, hey, if I'm shy. And with the camera thing, but I wanted to be in front of camera. If you're shy and you want to be in front of a camera, either do not be shy or look for something else. Find the right thing. Do trial and error on your own. Is your writing skill good enough? If you're writing in English, is your English good enough? If you're in Hindi or Bengali or Malayalam, whatever your language is your language good enough? Is your vocabulary good enough? If you're looking at something like commentary, look at someone that, the way how Pulosto uses his language, how Anand uses his language, or even an old gentleman like a John Helm, that is different class, where you also realize, I was having that argument the other day, John Helm with all the experiences. We have a German player in the ISL, Matti Steinmann. Yeah. He said Steinmann. And I was telling those guys, hey, listen, that is something which I'm very particular about, is with names, with foreign players. And that is there's a lot of these small little things. Again, you can learn a lot of things, and you have to also live in reality, is that if you let's say do broadcasting, we're talking about local cricket and other things, you will not have a camera set up like you have in the IPL or in when India is playing. You have to realize you might have to work with a 1 or a 4 or a 6 or an 8 camera shoot, where you might even not have replays. So the question is, if you're working in the lower leagues on television, even on radio, it is, you have to do your legwork is much more. You can't even do Google research. If I want to research something about someone, or if Pulosto wants to research someone on the ISL, he'll find that in 3 seconds on the internet. He will have all the data. In the worst case, it's Spanish, but he can then translate it, or in whatever language it is. So your groundwork, your legwork is going to be key to the success. Which is very, very important.
Are we good, Aditya? I think
Yes, definitely. The questions are so much that, if you guys keep on answering, you will never be, we won't be able to stop today. But thank you so much for answering so many doubts. Like, I am sure that, all of you who attended, you got in a lot of insights. Now, moving on to the next part, which I think many of you are here for the certificates, like also for the certificates. So I'll be sharing details about the same. And I also have a couple of things to share with you guys before it. So firstly, if you guys like the session, I have posted a link on I posted a post on LinkedIn. So I've just shared the link on the chat. If you guys can, give reviews about the session, whatever you liked, if you didn't like anything, whatever it was, if you liked the session, whatever reviews you have, please give it to us. It will really help us in improving further in the future. We want to deliver we want to help you get into the industry. And as many of you pointed out that you want to do a course in sports journalism, something which would help you enter into the industry faster and better. But as Pulasta and Arunava mentioned, that there's no direct route. You need to build a personal brand for yourself in order to enter the industry. A personal brand, via YouTube pages, Instagram pages, LinkedIn pages. And this is, where exactly Mad About Sports stands. We want to help you build a personal brand in the industry. If any one of you, if you are interested in, learning from two of the best in the industry, Arunava and Pulas, we are launching a course on sports media and journalism. This is a 7-day course completely live online where Arunava and Pulas, they come for the sessions directly. They talk about sports media and journalism, how to make a career in the industry. I have created this page, which would help you get a very good understanding of what I'm talking about. We You can go through the video, you can go through what you will learn. We'll be covering sports journalism, sports media, how to be a sports media professional, how to do your commentary, how to start your own channels, digital media channels. It would be a completely practical experience that you will get, which you will not get anywhere else in India. It's a very practical course, and we'll be covering it just in 7 days. Arunava and Pulas, again, these guys will be the instructors. They have an amazing experience in the industry.
Arunava is going to be the good cop. I'm going to be the bad cop.
Yes. So
Arunava looks so nice. He can't be a bad cop. Come on.
Oh God, there's certain people who are still angry with me what I said during my Mumbai City days. So let's not get into that topic.
All right.
Some people are still angry with me about that. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So continuing, yeah, it's a 12-hour course. We will be conducting 7 sessions of, the duration between 1.5 to 2 hours. It will be on Zoom. It's for anyone, who wants to make a career in sports media. Like, we want to help you build your personal brand in the industry. And what's the best part about it is that, we'll be teaching you stuff, how to make blogs, how to make podcasts, video blogs, commentary, and all of these will be group assignments which you'll be given. The good ones, they will be posted, in arunfood.com as well. That's Arunava's personal page with a very good following. So the good ones will be posted there. It will help you get the reach. Like, some of you guys were asking, how to connect to industry experts. So that is how you connect to industry experts, like by, building your personal brand. And now the best part about it is, we are offering a 1 month free internship mentorship program with Pulast and Arunava. And we are offering it for completely free. If you go to the industry, if you check out other organizations which would offer mentorship services, they charge a minimum of 20,000, 25,000 for a 2-hour session, on a 2-hour session, a personalized session. And we are offering it for completely free along with this course. So this is about the course. You will be getting a certificate of completion as well. This is how your certificate would look, and it's completely shareable. Now, there are a lot of FAQs which you can go through. I'll be sharing all the details. Now comes the important part, all of you would like to know what's the price. So, going by industry standards, there should be a course which should have at least a price of 8,000 rupees. But for like we decided that we want to cater to as many people as possible. We tried and we have tried our best to bring down the course price from 8,000 to 4,999. This is for the general audience. Now I have a bonus for you guys. Like, since you guys attended this webinar, you have already interacted with Pulast and Arunava. You already know, how they are going to cover this entire course. There's a special discount of further 50%, which is applicable only for the students who attended this particular webinar. I'll be sharing the coupon code right away. So you will be getting the course at 2,499. This is inclusive of taxes, and this would include everything. Just for the mentorship program, which is of 1 month. For registering for that particular program, you need to register before tomorrow. Like, tomorrow would be the last date to get the mentorship program, and for the discount coupon as well of 50%. Tomorrow would be the last date. Now, just talking about the dates, we are starting on this particular Friday, which is 22nd January. We'll be, as mentioned, we'll be covering 7 sessions. You can have a complete look at the dates and, about the timings. If you happen to miss any particular class, we'll be sharing the recordings of all the classes as well. So that, you can go through it later on. So this is about the course. Now, I'll be sharing the link and the coupon code with all of you right away on the WhatsApp group. Apart from it, I really request you, all of you again, that please give us feedback. Pulast and Arunava, they have worked really hard in order to prepare this webinar and the entire course. So if you can, give us feedback on the LinkedIn post, it would really help us, in improving further in the future. And if you like us, if you're liking this particular course, do register using the coupon code. A 12-hour live online course on sports media and journalism at 2,500 rupees. I can assure that, you won't get it anywhere in India. So this is my guarantee. Apart from it, now moving on to the certificates. So I'll be sharing the LinkedIn post link again on the WhatsApp group. As soon as you're done with the review, just I'll just send the entire procedure. I'll be sending a Google form to all of you. As soon as you fill the form, you will be able to download your certificates. So that's it from my side. Again, a very big thank you to Pulasta and Arunava for conducting this session. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And, there are a lot of participants who learned a lot from you guys. Thank you for answering so many questions. So, and, for any further questions, we were not being able to answer all the questions because it was just a 1-hour webinar. But we'll be taking more such questions, oriented towards the sports media industry in our full course that's starting from this Friday. So that's it from my side. If you guys like the session, please, I'll be posting the LinkedIn link again over here as well. Please, give us reviews on LinkedIn. It will really help us. So that's it from my side. Anything else which you would like to add, Pulast and Arunava?
No, thanks for all the love that people are showing on the chat window. We really appreciate it. Some really good questions, some good stuff. Looking forward to seeing a few faces for the classes later on.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Okay, guys.
I hope we've been able to give you a sort of a realistic approach to things. And again, when it comes to the topic of joining the class, I guess we can go a little bit more into detail and get into more specifics. So thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed, and stay well, stay safe, and hope to see you soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.